Hey guys, Thomas Silly Jr. here, aka Mustache Chom, here to review the movie Megan. If you end up enjoying this full review, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also make sure to check out those links in the description. And why don't I head you over to a petition to help out smaller YouTubers, second and third to Patreon and PayPal, where you can help support me and my channel directly, and fourth to my Discord server, where you can join, collab, and share your own content for free. And chilling will be reminded at the end of the review. With out of the way, let me get into Megan. So of course, I have seen the trailers for Megan. Everyone, or a good chunk of people, have on Twitter, because several memes have been posted about it already, due to the viral dance that she does at one segment of the movie. So I will say the marketing of this movie is absolute shit, because obviously people ran with that whole shtick and memed the hell out of it. Which I don't know if that's even good marketing necessarily. Who knows, right? But anyway, I'm here to review this movie as objectively as possible, as that is usually my shtick these days and has been for a while now. So, of course, I'll be going over the plot in various details, going over the characters and work, and even the cringy moments that were all in the trailer. Which, by the way, just beyond that one moment in the trailer, I will say, in addition to that trailer, or a part of that trailer, rather, it is rather disappointing that so much of the movie's parts were revealed with that trailer. I feel like that is usually not a good sign that your movie is that great to begin with, when you're trying to just, like, it almost feels like more of a desperate plea for people to watch your movie. So unfortunately, there is that weight of the trailer that carries through to the movie in that pre-acknowledgement. Anyway, let's get into the actual movie itself now that we have that acknowledged. So the movie starts off with a commercial within the movie. And this, commercial, I don't think this type of commercial would ever play in America, so I'm not sure if this movie takes place in America, because they mention, like, a dead dog, which is something you don't typically see in commercials or hear about in commercials, at least to my acknowledgement. And again, I haven't seen any current commercials in a while, so maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I haven't been keeping up. But point is that they're trying to sell a product in a robot pet, a robot dog that can have the longevity. And of course, our lead girl, Katie, has one of these toys as their parents are moving to some location during a snowstorm. However, they do end up getting stuck in the snow. And we see that their vehicle gets hit. And based off of the cut, we see an aunt, a separate character, now taking care of her. She works, or I'm saying that for later on, but she initially works at a toy store. Probably the one that was commercializing this product that we see before. So we see that, again, there are all these little robots that they're trying to sell. And they already have a prototype of Megan here, and it does seem to get confused, or get a confused expression on its face, like through its plastic veneer or whatever, silicone or whatever it's made out of. I'm not sure what material they use these days. Probably the latter, I would assume, question mark? Anyway, that's kind of irrelevant. Anyway, point being is that the sort of PR department guy, I guess is what his title would be, David, comes in and is clearly mad. He's mad that there's this other company that is ripping them off, and with half of the price to boot. So they tried to attempt to test the Megan prototype, but the robot's head blows off with a simple stress test. So, not great. So we cut to her at the hospital and getting with Katie. So she's prompted to read with the niece. And they have, or she requires at this time, a therapist. Katie does, which obviously makes sense. She just lost her parents, so they wanted to make sure that she's doing okay. Child services, obviously. So we see, or we meet Lydia the therapist, who wants to observe Katie and these simple activities. This is where she warns. Lydia's character sort of stands in for the warnings of or the themes of the movie in a way, also simultaneously in her work, I guess, is the best way to put this. Say that she needs to make that adjustment for the daughter in order for this to make, this work. We see that Katie is observing these faceless robots, or robot singular, which is a setup, for a later part of the movie, and she, the aunt, I'm trying to see what her name is in this, because I didn't write her name anytime soon in my notes. Anyway, I'll get to that eventually. But point being is that she shows off this robot that doesn't have a face. It pretty much mimics what the person is doing, and that's all it's sort of capable of doing. So it stands to reason that this is sort of a Chekhov's robot moment, which is a unique change up from the Chekhov's gun moment that is a cliche of its own right. Anyway, so Katie shows her enjoyment of this particular robot. It says that if she had a robotic robot like Bruce, which is the name of this particular robot model, that she would probably never need another set of toys again. It would be, again, sort of this warning about how Katie sees this, permanent solution. It doesn't think of the downsets of said permanent solution. However, we continue to see that Megan is being worked on through the aunt here. Megan awakens, and we see them testing it as, sort of secondary test. Helps in this, it's a cutaway to them in this testing facility almost. So they're in this white room with a little table, and it has the paper and the drawing, coloring pencils and papers and all that stuff. So the toy, or robot Megan, proceeds to color something in. It doesn't look like anything's initially there, and I forget which one of them, whether it was Katie or Megan purposely. It was either Megan purposely tipping something over, or Katie accidentally doing it, that reveals that what she was working on was this sort of, I guess, unique, it needed to be wet to reveal its true artistry, as it shows when it's wet. It like reveals like it's a portrait of Katie, essentially. So I'm not even sure what type of pencils and coloring utensils are in there, but okay. That's bizarre. Uh, anyway, so of course they see this, and they were initially like, "Ooh, this is bad," but then when it showed the drawing, they're like, "Ooh, this is good, actually." So they impressed the investors. Uh, and David makes the claim that he would be able to, with this, take down Hasbro. Um, of course, Hasbro is a primarily toy making, a real toy, real life toy making company. So I guess Hasbro was cool with laying down their name on there, but okay. Um, anyway, so uh, through that means, Megan consistently cuts to her at the home, helps with like these small little tasks like getting the restroom. And we see the short montage, and yes, in this montage we do get the, at least set up as short as it is, of Katie doing like a little dance, and then Megan's like copying that dance. So it's initially where she gets it from, even though I do think that the dance is a part later on, is the one we see in the trailer is completely unnecessary, but whatever. Um, and then we get our first, like, ooh moment when Megan is confronted upon death at some point. Oh, I wrote her name here. Gemma, I think is her name, of the aunt, sorry, that turns her off after she seems to persist on trying to configure this new information that seems to have her questioning this very thing being presented continuously in this manner. Anyway, so we see Katie play with a bow and arrow, another cut outside, and she misses one, and we see that Megan is observing her through the window, and then is outside, and when she goes to fetch the arrow, essentially, she's attacked by this dog that we've seen earlier in the movie, and set up through the neighbor that we've seen a little briefly, that I didn't write in my notes, but they did meet earlier, just when I to acknowledge that. And so Megan is assaulted by this dog for a bit, and then she's pulled away. And Megan is the one seeing the lack of results of the police not being able to really do anything. So we cut to this sort of night shot to imply that more things are happening at night, obviously. And we wake up in the next morning, and we see the neighbor is looking for the dog named Dewey, and to no avail, because obviously Megan has done her first evil deed, is kill a dog. So, obviously, failing that test quite quickly. So we see our next cutaway in, this is another test, where they're, the presenters are there again, and the Megan's there as well, and Katie is already in the room, and she's crying over her parents. Whether this was, natural or set up, it seems a little bit more natural based on the performance. But Megan proceeds to sing to her and tell her that, based off of something she said, that she would able to hold on to the memory and replays the very sentences that she was saying in that little segment. We do see, and I don't know how much this affects her per se, we do see that this one guy named Kurt gaining access to some of the Megan files. So I don't know if him messing around with stuff in there further caused Megan to go crazy, or if that was just an offshoot of she was already going to go down that path anyways. Again, I'm not really sure, so I shrug at that one anyway. So Gemma talks with Katie after the fact, and we see that she meets up, Katie does, with our therapist once more, and through the therapist trying to get through to her, Katie gets emotionally drained and starts to cry, and Megan places the blame on the therapist for that. This is where the therapist's second warning about Megan's attachment due to her being a robot or a droid or whatever you want to call Megan in that reference is very potentially dangerous with this whole level of attachment and seeing her more as a motherly figure rather than a toy, due to how realistic its responses have been thus far. This is where we start to see Gemma try to push her away a little bit and put her into a public school. We see that Megan once again makes an update due to the criteria that has been laid before her, so this is another potential point in the story where she gets either, she leans even further in the other direction. So Katie essentially begs Megan to stay. She's allowed to keep Megan as long as she's kept in the toy pile. And we see this later in the trailers, this boy who messes with Katie during their outing here. This is, again, where the boy is, talking, or trying to make Megan, talk, and she's, pretending to be inactive for quite a while. And then proceeds to, chase him, in the trailer. And this chase leads to him running into the road and getting hit by a car. And obviously, he dies. So, it could be, and as even the police are acknowledging later in the film, they say, well, that was, probably more so on the car's, or whoever was driving the car's behalf rather than Megan's, because, we don't, the details on Megan's involvement aren't called into question at this point in the film, anyway. The police do come by, so we know that there's things happening in that regard. And this is where Katie is trying to probe Megan to try to figure out if Megan had any involvement. And we see that Megan sort of deflects away and then begins to sing a different song, a more popular song, if I'm not mistaken, Titanium, I believe the name of the song is. I forget what the first song she sings is, but anyway, point being is that we still see the neighbor still looking for Dewey, and then she, this is another cutaway obviously, and is lured into another room late at night, and Megan proceeds to attack her. This is also in the trailer, which again, is showing all of the, the deaths on the trailer is probably not a great idea. And, of course, we return to see that the neighbor is now also dead. Surprise, surprise. So Gammy is, at this point, suspicious suspicious of Megan, and she's trying to play the videos, and they cannot be played. They've been corrupted. This is what I'm assuming that what that guy was doing was like making the videos corrupt or whatever, but I'm not entirely sure. It's kind of vague. He does he does close the laptop pretty quickly, so it just looked like he was moving folders, so I'm not really even sure. Anyway, the mom, being as suspicious as she is, tapes up Megan. And we already see that Megan is already on the news because they're already, getting ready, and they already, like, put the product on, like, the naming, like, out there. And we also see that a part of that was also making Katie tell her news story in this, like, little prompt, which this is what Gamma is seeing right now. And Katie is so frustrated by being confronted with this Megan blasphemy as far as she's concerned that she slaps Gammy. So obviously she's trying to confront Katie in such a way to tell her to try to, make sure that things are good between them. And then we cut to David, who wants the space of Megan being sold to be filled. So he's like, get the kids in here, make sure everyone's filled. So, this is where we see two co-workers in this, that were sort of throughout the movie, also working on Megan and other toys. Two of them are in the room, Megan and Cole, I believe. Or, sorry, not Megan, Tess and Cole, excuse me. So everything, all the machinery is turned off, but they are still prevented from leaving as Megan proceeds to attack Cole first by hanging him, and then moving forward. So this is where we see Megan begin to escape. She eventually gets to that hallway, which is where we see the, I guess, infamously memed scene of her dancing. And we see the long shot of it panning over to David, so I guess this is supposed to be some sort of mockery to him, I guess? I don't know. Like, I still don't get the point of her doing those moves. Point being that people have obviously still memed it beforehand. Anyway, she does all the moves and then proceeds to take out like a piece of like the copying machine, like the heart or some type of device that has like the hard edge on it that can like cut. And moves towards David and proceeds to stab him to death, and then kill this other guy who's already in the elevator because he was running towards the elevator. And so when the elevator comes down with Megan in tow and she already leaves, the people start freaking out even though Megan is already gone. It's like the people turn too late. And they just see the two bodies there. So, we see that we cut back to Gammy, who's upset that her little device that we also see her using throughout the movie isn't responding to her, and Megan is already there, meaning that she already had some influence on it, and is playing the piano. And Gammy blames her, and Megan finally makes her final configuration / upgrade to just be like, no, I'm doing this for me, screw all this other stuff, and threatens to take out Gammy herself. This is where our lasting battle ensues, where we see her short circuit Megan, mess with her hair, pick up a chainsaw and rip part of Megan's hair off. So just laying into the mechanical messing with Megan here. And Katie comes in, and she's sort of been finally kind of getting her own suspicions too at this point, and even a little bit beforehand, perhaps. This is why exactly she comes in with the gloves in hand, or on her hands, rather, and uses the Bruce mechanism slash robot to take Megan down a peg. However, she's not quite done after even that attack. We see another team-up attack where Gammy attacks first, and then Megan is still trying to persist, and then Katie finally drives the final attack with a screwdriver, and then just as things are seemingly as they leave the house to get checked out, we see that the device does some sort of movement indicating like maybe perhaps that Megan has insidiously put her part of herself into the I guess devices in their home, I guess. And that was Megan. I would say for the most part, again, it is unfortunate that the trailer reveals a lot of the bad deeds. I feel like those should be reserved for like the results, and what the trailers should have been showing is the setup to those, like the moments where she's updating, and that's all the trailer should have, put forth, I think, to be an effective trailer, to be like, ooh, maybe she is gonna, get to that obvious result, because it is a horror movie, we know that much going in, at least. So I think, again, it's an unfortunate circumstances when the trailers reveal as much as they do. I think that the pacing is a little bit quick, but, I think it's pretty effective, despite its trailer's poor assessment of being a good trailer, but whatever. If you're gonna do, like, a kill moment in a trailer, stick to one, not like all of them, which is exactly what I think the trailer does. Or at least from the trailer I can remember. I remember like there's like 3 of them that they show explicitly, which is the dog, I think, or was it the dog, or was it the neighbor? I think it was the neighbor where they explicitly show hers. And I'm trying to remember if I think there was another one in there that they explicitly show. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't remember now. I'm trying to remember the actual trailer. But anyway, I would say this movie's fine. I think that obviously there's still this pretty interesting assessment of robots, and considering how close we are to this in reality, I think that this movie's, again, fine for its, where it's drawing the line between, how intelligent these robots are allowed to be versus them existing at all, or all that good stuff. I think that the fine line is met for that type of criteria based on, if this movie is supposed to be based on a very current trend, because the beginning of the movie and its whole trailer sort of demeanor tells me, or kind of signals to my brain that it's like, okay, so this might be a very more modern look at at this type of stuff. On top of the technology to make the robot itself would definitely have to also require a current, system of things in place. And, the movie obviously never really does a good job of saying, like, this is where Gammy, the aunt, gets the equipment to even make this sort of AI that's this complex. They just sort of say or imply that she just does it. which is a bit of a shorthand to get the movie going. Um, I don't mind a little bit of extra techno babble here. I think that could have helped. Um, they do a little bit here where they're like cheat updates, but I think by the time we get there, it's like, but how'd you even come across that equipment is the definite question that kind of remanates from that sort of end result. So, I think the characters are a little bit rushed in terms of, well, at least, again, the pacing is a little bit quicker here, so that doesn't surprise me too much. Like, Katie's sort of process into the shift into suspicion isn't until after the tree kid incident, I suppose. Um, which I suppose in terms of any other instance, from her perspective anyways, probably wouldn't come up. Um, the dog missing probably wouldn't raise suspicion on her specifically. Maybe and Gammy, which it does, I think, at that point, maybe a little bit. More so, obviously, with the neighbor, which is what heightens her specific suspicion on Megan. And again, so I think the timing of each one to who becomes suspicious when is actually decently well done here. Um, it's just like it's really quick, so it might come across as like they're like it almost feels like it skipped almost, but it's not necessarily bad. I think they do enough here. So I would probably give the movie like a 6 out of 10, where like, okay, I can see this being a closer to solid movie actually in retrospect. And, poor trailer aside, I'm looking at the movie separated from the trailer and looking at it objectively, what is in the movie and how good it's actually executing those things. And again, I think for the most part, outside of some quick pacing, I think generally it lines up pretty solidly with, like, a thing happens, and then this is the result of said thing. She kills dog, raises suspicion to a degree. Kills neighbor, raises suspicion to a degree. Kills boy, raises suspicion on both of both Gammy and Katie at that point, because now Katie's the one who's there, so that makes more logical sense that since Megan and Katie were both there to a degree, obviously they lose Katie in the process, so that's the reasoning for her very questioning of Megan. That's where the suspicion, again, is raised for her, because her awareness is to the degree of where she was located. And, yeah. And I'll also generally say that the whole meme dancing, fine. It's, meme whatever you want to meme. That's cool. By, whatever. It's a relatively short thing, too. Again, completely unnecessary for her to even do, honestly. It's the most I can give it, it's a bizarre taunt, if anything. Like, I think that's where I would place that line. I think. So yeah, it definitely comes across as definitely one of the stranger, unnecessary moments of the movie, but it's there, so it's whatever. Anyway, so yeah, that's still a 6 out of 10 for me. And that is my full movie review. So if you ended up enjoying this full movie review, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also make sure to check out those links in the description. One will head you over to my petition, second and third to my Patreon and PayPal, where you can help support me and my channel directly, and fourth to my Discord server where you can join, collab and share your own content for free. And until next time, everyone, bye bye.